Hi folks, this is Parvinder, and today I will deep dive into data flow debug mode in Azure Data Factory. I will also go over the debug mode of the data flow and the pipeline, and I will also show you how to turn them on. I will go over the default settings of the debug mode and how it impacts the Spark cluster that it uses. I will show the data preview tab with different settings and when it is beneficial to use them with some quick actions. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Okay, so let's jump right in to the data flow debugging feature here. Azure Data Factory, data flow debug mode. In this mode, you can interactively observe data shape transformations while building and debugging data flows. A debug session is available both during a data flow design session and during a data flow pipeline debug. So how do you turn the debug mode on? To turn the debug mode on, use the data flow debug button on the top bar of data flow canvas here. So here is the debug mode for data flows. And if you want to turn the debug mode on for a pipeline, that is here. And here. So let me differentiate between these two pipelines. The first pipeline does not have any data flows in it. So here is a straightforward debug mode. The second pipeline has a data flow here. I have created this data flow. I have dragged and dropped that data flow here. So for the pipeline, you can turn the data flow mode on from here. Okay. After enabling this slider, which is this, you will be prompted to select the integration runtime configuration to use. Let me turn it on and see what happens. So as soon as I enable it, I have to choose a integration runtime mode here. If I choose this default auto resolve integration runtime, an 8-core cluster of general compute power will be turned on behind the scenes. And there is also a debug time to live, which is by default 1 hour. It can go 2 hours, 4 hours, and so on. So you also have to choose the time for the debug mode on. So when the debug mode is on, you can interactively build your data flow with the active Spark cluster, which is running behind the scenes here. So the session will close once you turn the debug off. Let me turn it on. So I turned it on and it is getting turned on here. So if you want to close the session, you can immediately turn it off. So right now it is just spinning. Oh, okay, now it's ready. So whenever you see the sign, green sign here, it's ready for the use. Okay, there's one important thing here, that every debug session that a user starts from their browser UI is a new session with its own Spark cluster. So if let's say have two pipelines here and I start one here, so I just have one pipeline here, but assume I have two pipelines here and I start two debug sessions. So both the debug session will have their own Spark clusters, and you can monitor them in the monitoring panel, and you will also be charged separately for both the debug sessions. All right, let me just touch upon a little bit about cluster status. So the cluster status indicator here turns green whenever a cluster is ready for debug, And if your cluster is already warm, then the green indicator will appear almost instantly. This is what happened in our case. So if our cluster wasn't ready, wasn't already running, when we entered into debug mode, then the Spark cluster will perform a cold reboot. The indicator will spin until the environment is ready for interactive debugging. So there is a good catch here. So the, if you use, let me turn it off. So debug mode is off here, and let me turn it on. So here is a catch. So if you use the default integration runtime, you will see that your cluster is instantly get ready, because it is choosing the cluster from a pool. But if you use a dedicated integration runtime with a custom size, so a dedicated integration runtime can have a different cluster size. It doesn't come, the clusters does not come from the pool, and the ADF will start the Spark cluster by its own. It will not be picked up from the pool. I'm turning it on again here, and you will see that it will not take a lot of time to show me the green indicator here. So it's spinning, and it's almost ready. Yeah, it's ready. Cluster is ready. My cluster name it is showing is ready. Okay, cluster settings. So once you turn on the debug mode, you can edit how the data flow preview looks. So let me go on data flow preview, and so I've turned it on. My debug settings are here. So I can choose in the debug setting, I can choose from my source data how many rows do I want to pick. By default you will get 1000, but let's say I want to pick only, I have two sources here, and let me see what the source name is here. So this is WWIDB source. So for this DB source, WWIDB, I just want to choose 10 rows. Okay, and I saved it. Let's see, when I go on preview, click on preview, I should only be seeing only 10 rows. Okay, so those that is running now. Let's see what happens. And in the meantime, if you have parameters on your data flow or any of its reference data set, you can specify what values to use during debugging by selecting the parameter tab. So in the parameter tab, we have selected, like right now, we only selected 10 rows, but we can also add more parameters there, which I can touch upon later. So my data preview is running here. And if you can see, oh yeah, you just see that I'm only choosing 10 rows from my data set. And let me modify it to say 15 so that we can count it. Okay, let me count these 10 rows first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you see here, stock item number have been selected from 1 to 10. Stock item number. Okay, let me go and select a different size here, and let me say 20. Now the number of rows that the data preview will show me will change. Okay. Okay, so you can see here that we have different number of rows here. So using the data flow, debugging is very useful in multiple cases. One of the best case scenario is when you want to use it is testing join conditions. Let's say you have a data source here which has millions and millions of rows, and you have another data source which you want to join to. If you run this whole data flow by itself, and it might take few minutes, and maybe like 15 minutes to run, and you will only be able to see whole data in the final database table once the whole process is complete. The benefit with the data preview tab here is that you can join them and you can see them here. So this is just the design debug mode. It's not the final table. And you will be able to see that your joins have completed properly. It's very useful when you are doing unit testing and testing on joins, exists, or lookup transformation. So you just need to make sure that you use a small set of known data for your test. That's also very important that you use a small set of data, because if you have lots and lots of data, because the join is always non-deterministic, you will not be able to figure out whether it is joining or not. So instead, use a small set of data from a sample table. So you can create a sample view which only has 10 to 20 rows, and you join on that sample view, and later on you see that okay, your join is working. One of the last thing that I want to touch upon here is that you can do transformation here right in the data preview tab. I will pick up this example. So supplier ID is one of the column. What all things I can do on supplier ID? I can typecast it, and let me make it a double. So I want to make this as a double, and it's working on it. So I can do a typecast operation here. I can do a typecast, I can do a modify, I can do a remove operation here. So now you see the supplier ID is 5.0. Before it was 5. It was only 5. It was an integer number. So you will see a transformation here as soon as I confirm it. Let me confirm it. And now you see a transformation here. So it automatically added a transformation here. So this is the benefit of adding data preview, because in data preview you can automatically add transformation in the data preview tab. Let me go ahead. I just ran it. Let me just run it once. Let me show you one more transformation here, which is of remove column. So if you want to remove a particular column, let's say color ID, if I want to remove this column, I just removed it from here and confirmed it. You will automatically see a transformation being added here. So let me just, okay. So you see a source and you have oh, this was the already existing transformation. This is the transformation that I added. This is one more transformation that I added just now. So you can also name it. You can also say remove column color. Color was the column that we removed. And once you save all these changes, everything will be saved. So it's a quick operation here, a quick functionality that the data preview provides. All right, that's for today.